Yep, name is Callum Hennessy. I work with Affix Windows and I manage the sales.
Perfect. So, Callum, part of these chats, I really want to understand sort of what difference Business Pilot is making to you
Yep,
guys. And a good place to start that is almost to talk about what was happening before Business Pilot, because that gives us
yep.
like some context. So, in terms of Affix there, what were you guys doing before Business Pilot? What were your processes? Did you have systems in? What were they? What was life like?
Yep. So originally, when I've been here 3 years now, originally ran everything out of spreadsheets.
Hmm.
We had a spreadsheet with every job we had, along with contract values and things like that, and a lot of whiteboards, that sort of thing. We do still have a few whiteboards, but not
Yeah.
quite as many. We moved away from that about a year and a half ago, went with another CRM system, and decided that we'd try that out because at that point we weren't too sure how much money we should be investing in this sort of thing and
Yeah.
what it was actually worth realistically. So we started with that, and it was quite handy to have everything sort of localized on one system for everyone to see, rather than
Yeah.
stuff getting wiped off or accidentally deleted and things like that. And that worked pretty well, apart from the fact that the system itself was really buggy, slow. The app we had for the fitters through their system did not work one bit, so we ended up giving up on that and just using the CRM, along with a lot of the integrations that they promised never worked. We then obviously moved over to yourselves and have gone from there, and it's been quite helpful.
So that system, what I'm always interested to hear about,
Yep.
because we clearly hear people have come from other systems and so forth, and there's a big difference between people coming across from, if you like, systems that are designed for, whether it's construction, it might not necessarily be
Mm-hmm.
installation specific, but certainly in terms of the trades, or people who've come from
Yep.
something more generic. Let's take the big names, the Salesforces, the HubSpots,
Yep.
all of these sorts of things. It sounds like the system you tried out was specific to construction.
Yes. So funny to say, we did actually originally start off with HubSpot.
Right.
We had paid a bloke to set all that up for us. Um, the moment we started trying to use the system, we realised we had no clue what we were doing, and it was a bit much for where we were at that point. So it pretty much never got used.
Yeah.
Realistically, we
Yeah.
set it up, and I used it to answer Facebook messages and respond to a couple of emails. That was about it, because it was just we had no clue what we were doing with that. We then
Yeah.
moved over to a trade specific one, where that was the whole sort of selling point they pushed to us was, yeah, we were an installation company. We've now created this. It's all great, and it just wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's always for me, that's sad to hear. I'm obviously,
Yeah,
we've spoken before. I'm a massive advocate for all these solutions being good.
yep,
Clearly, I want more and more people to join the Business
of
Pilot
course.
community, but actually, I wish all this software was good. Because
Yeah, of
our
course.
mission is about helping installers, not selling software. So
Yeah,
um,
of course. And I do think it's a good starting point for things
yeah,
like that. I mean, it helps you get your foot in the door, especially being as it was a low investment. We paid a small monthly fee,
yeah,
um, and it was a good point to sort of work out that it was something that would be helpful for us going forward,
yeah,
and allowed us to look further into what we wanted to do. And then I think a few months after, we saw yourselves at the Fit Show,
yeah.
and that sort of sparked that conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so that's all great. You had those experiences, and actually, you've done a few of them. You've done the
Yep,
spreadsheet thing, you've done the
yep,
non-specific CRM, you've done the industry-specific CRM, and then you've come over to Business Pilot. So that's quite a good story in itself.
yeah.
What difference has Business Pilot made to you then, compared to those other solutions?
I think a lot of it's been the ease of use. When we were using the spreadsheets, there was always that whole thing of did my head in to try and remember every day. I have a terrible memory. Trying to remember
We all
every
do.
day that I'd need to, try and remember to send it over to everyone so everyone could see what was going on. It was a lot harder to see that we'd missed updating something, forget to put a job on the spreadsheet, and all of a sudden no one knows what's going on with it anymore. There was also a lot less information we could put in there. So although we could have expanded it, over expanding a spreadsheet just makes it a lot more work. So it was generally just name, address, value, status, and any notes. So we had so many different systems going on where we ended up with 5 or 6 different spreadsheets running different things. And then we'd have the invoicing system to see any payments, where it's being able to have it all sort of consolidated into one thing where we can manage everything together. It's not on one person to keep everything updated, because that was when I started. That was me trying to keep that spreadsheet up to date, which as the company progresses becomes more and more work to try and fill in. At least now that between the few of us that are in the office, we can all jump in and update as we go, and it makes that a lot less time consuming as well.
Yeah, perfect. So, okay, I normally ask this in terms of like your favorite feature. Essentially, is really the question. But I suppose that always comes off the back of what's made the biggest difference to you, and it's different for everybody because everybody's got a different pain point. So, what would you say is like your favorite feature, or what's made the biggest difference?
I think I'd have 2 different answers there for you. On what's made the biggest difference, I would say it's the fitting app. Being able to have that, whether I'm not worrying about someone going down to the yard every day and handing fitters paperwork. Someone's got to print a job off yesterday, so the fitters haven't gone there. That sort of thing. Being able to have that and have them see everything about the customer, it also makes them a bit more self-reliant in the way that if they're running 10 minutes late to a job, they give the customer a call and say, I'm running a little bit behind. It's made that a lot smoother. For myself, what my favourite thing has been is having the email template and setting up on the pipeline to automatically send them at different points. That's been super handy, setting it up so that I send my quotes through that, and it automatically sets up the email template for that. The deposit guaranteeing information is all through there. The fencer information, it is very rare, unless I'm having a conversation with a customer about a quote, that it isn't just something I've already typed up and is there ready to send, which saves so much time.
And improves all the accuracy. There's so many 100%. Benefits.
Means I'm never forgetting to mention something because I've already sort of tied down what I want the email to say. And so it's always got all the information that the customer needs to get off me.
And it creates that consistent sort of response.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like that retail experience we talk a lot about. How do you make yourself as professional as, let's say, a John Lewis would be? How do you do that every single day when you've got a million other things to think about? How do you create that consistency?
It also gives that sort of brand identity with still having our logo at the top of all the emails, whereas instead of having just hello so-and-so and my name at the bottom, it's just made it look like a nicer email for the customer to receive.
Yeah, I think, and that's sort of talking about a few features all in one, really. So there's templates, obviously. The fact that we've got the BP mail, so email being integrated within and how that ties. And I mean, we could talk forever about how that actually works. If you've not seen that, go and check out some other video because BP mail's phenomenal in itself. And then the pipelines. 100%. And we talk about this. I was talking to somebody else and saying, you know, we just talk about it as though it's normal now, because for us it is normal. But actually 100%. Setting up your process, mapping it exactly how you would do it, not how a system wants you to do it, mapping what you would do, and then just having that go through is, I mean, it's alien to any other system, you know. But
and I would say it saved me a lot of time.
It
allows us to sell more in the way I'm not focusing on the emails all the time. It's already there, so I can spend more time dealing with quotes and suppliers and trying to work things out in other aspects.
No, exactly. And then you just threw in another bit, and this again, I've loved doing these chats because I get to hear the responses of people using the system every day. You know, and you just said, you know, and the fencer, it's a throwaway comment now, because with the fencer integration, it's a throwaway task. It's not something you have to think about. So if you could just expand in terms of how you used to do your fencer registrations before the API, as we call it, so the connection, the integration, and now what it's like.
No problem. So before, the way we did it was myself. I'd do it once a week, spend a couple hours. I'd sit there with a list of contracts and what they were, and go on to Fencer's website, register it, fill out all the details. I would spend pretty much most of my Fridays, most week, were filling out Fencer's, and then typing up an email to send over to a customer with their registration number and things like that, compared to now, where it's not myself who does it anymore, thankfully.
Yeah.
But even so, for my colleague, all she does is go onto the guarantee section, say that she'd like to register it, check how many doors and windows there were, type that number, and it's pretty much done. Submit, and then sends over the guarantee details again by the email template. And it's done.
You know, I had somebody saying, you know, it used to just take me hours to do it all.
Yep.
And now it's seconds. I don't even consider it a task anymore. It's just seconds. You know,
it's that ease, I think, of it automatically pulling all the information through off the contract anyway. So we're not sitting there trying to fill out the customer's name, address, phone number, email, and things like that. It's all already there. It's just how many windows, how many doors.
Yeah. And actually, quite often people have already filled that in when they're setting up the contract. So, you know, I mean, you've got to put the numbers in at some point, obviously, but basically it just takes it away from being a specific job, you know, and I love that part of the system. And obviously we do it with accounting, and we're doing it with like the quoting systems. To me, all software should be connected in this way. You know, why are we double entering? Yeah. So
it just makes it all a part of the same flow that we're going through. Being as we can do it all in one place. It's not something that ever gets missed, because we've already added it into the pipeline that it says our fencer and CPA. So as that comes up, we think, oh yeah, we've got a fencer that job. Takes 30 seconds, and it's not being missed anymore. Because there was a few occasions where we'd forget that we had to fencer someone, and it's 6 months down the line, where's my fencer certificate? And that doesn't come up anymore.
Well, and also you were going off and doing the registration numbers. A lot of companies, they're doing the registrations, but they don't keep checking back at the fencer portal to get the number. You know, they only do that when a customer calls in, you know. And
that was how we were to begin with as well.
Yeah, you know, and that's not uncommon. In fact, that's the norm, you know. So whereas now, obviously, as you know, Business Pilot checks that every day. And as soon as a number is issued, it's put back into the contract, you know, so it's there.
Exactly.
And like you say, you can have an email template then that automatically goes out telling them this is your number, you know. So
that's exactly what it does. We've got the email template, it pulls in the guarantee template we set up. I got help off of Rebecca on how to set up one of the Business Pilot templates. So we set up a template that pulls in their name and address and has their guarantee information. And then the email pulls in the date that their guarantee is active from, which would be their last installation date off the schedule, their fencer number, and it's got it all in one place for them.
Perfect. So you mentioned there, Rebecca. Clearly, there's a whole team of people. I'm really keen, and you'll have spotted that. Obviously, we were fortunate. We got some time at the Fit Show this year together. So you'll have seen how, you know, I'm really keen on building this Business Pilot community, and the team are a big part of that. So I wonder if you could just talk about your experiences with the team, you know, not necessarily the software, but how the team support you and your usage of Business Pilot.
Yeah, of course. Mainly I've dealt with Kirsty and Rebecca, generally speaking. They've been great help when we were first getting started. And we were obviously a few teething issues of us trying to work out what we were doing. We had our training day with Rebecca, which was great help, helped everyone get an idea of what was going on. But obviously, it's still a lot for people to take in one day. So there was still things that we had missed out on and not fully paid attention to, especially towards the end of the day when you're starting to get a bit more tired, which was why it was a great help that we were able to just call up the phone number and get quick solutions. Anytime we had an issue or couldn't work out how to do something, there was always either a video or some post explaining how to do it, or we could just call up and nice and quickly get that sorted. Along with, as we've been adding more users, you guys have been sorting that out for us, so it's just a matter of popping over an email there hasn't really been a moment where I've had an issue and not been able to find someone who could resolve it for me, which
Yeah.
is what you want, really.
Yeah, 100%. And certainly for us, it's all about how do we help the installer, not how do we build software.
Yeah,
The software is
yeah,
almost secondary, which I know sounds silly given that is
yeah,
essentially what we do, but it's not silly. If there's lots of software, you were talking already about a couple of other CRM
yeah,
type systems, one that was specific to the industry, one that wasn't. Neither one really helped you. And therefore it is about the
exactly.
people, so
Yeah, 100%. It's being able to have someone that you can reliably go to and get assistance with.
yeah. So when we spoke earlier about the different systems, you were looking at the cost side, and
Yep,
obviously you had a lower cost solution.
yep,
Cost is quite often a consideration for people. We're not
yep.
silly. We know that. What would you say in terms of value rather than cost? So how does Business Pilot stack up for you guys as a business?
Yep. So of course, originally when we first met you at Business Pilot, not at Business Pilot, at the trade show,
Yeah.
that was the main reason that we had gone with the other company was due to the cost.
Yeah.
The fact that we weren't sure whether it was going to be something that we would reliably use. It sort of took a few months of me trying to convince everyone that it was
Yeah.
worth making a bit of a jump there. I
Yeah.
think everyone was a little bit nervous on the fact of it's a lot more money to spend compared to what we were spending.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that it hadn't gone well with the last software, everyone was a little bit reluctant to jump into something else and hope that
Yeah.
it went well. I would say from time saved alone, it has been worth the cost.
Mm.
Not even talking about just making stuff easier and less stressful and the additional features we've got. But from time saved alone, we've probably saved that money in hours of pay that we can use elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of help in that way. I'd say that's where a lot of the value we've found has been, in that it's allowed me more free time to worry about other things.
That's a key thing. We have so many stories where people say it's almost like having a digital employee. It's like having another
100%.
person. And
100%.
But then it's not about getting rid of people. It's what you've just said. It's that allows you time to focus on more important things. And I think
exactly, it's allowed us to push sales a bit more, whereas before there was two of us in here.
Mm-hmm.
We were just pushing the sales, but trying to keep on top of everything else at the same time. Just never happened. We were losing loads through the cracks of taking too long to get back to people and things like that. It's allowed us to be able to be a lot more reactive to inquiries coming through and be on top of things a lot more, being as we're not worried about the day-to-day running as much.
And that's it. I was going to say, in terms of growing any business, there's two sides.
Yep.
There's obviously generating more sales, clearly.
Yep.
But if every time you generate more sales, you're just putting a bigger and bigger burden on the internal staff, there's a point where you can't just keep loading more sales on because it falls over. And what it sounds like, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, so it's probably better from you, but it sounds like that's what Business Pilot is doing. It's allowing you time
100%.
to focus on the sales, and when they come in, that they're going to be dealt with because of the system.
100%. It's allowed that ease of the process through, or when we're dealing with an inquiry. Whereas before, I even do my follow-up emails through the pipeline on there, as it was always something that I would forget to do. I'd always send a quote, and then the moment I'd done that, I would completely forget about them. It'd be 3 months later, and I thought, well, I wonder what happened to them.
Yeah.
But I set that up in the process through there to remind us to do that. Where we're not focusing on the admin, we're spending a lot more time on sales. You get to be more involved with a customer when you're responding daily instead of, I've been too busy today, so I'll respond to them tomorrow. And it just makes it seem more personable for a customer as well, that we're more reactive with it.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so if I've got somebody now, you're down the pub, it's Friday night, you're down the pub, and another installer comes in and they say, you guys are on that Business Pilot. We've just signed up. What would you advise us? So this is somebody who's just signed up. what would your advice to them be?
I'd get on the training day as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I think it helps take a lot of the guesswork out right at the start.
Yeah.
I also think it's a matter of just jumping into it rather than, for like the first week, we sort of hummed and hawed and we were slowly moving things over.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense just to go both feet in and fully go for it and get involved. Otherwise, you're constantly trying to move things over bit by bit. Making sure that all the staff had training, I think that was quite helpful for us.
Yeah.
We did discuss in the beginning doing maybe sending down 2 or 3 people so that we weren't shutting the office for a day. But we decided that it just made most sense to get everyone down there, which definitely helped, because by the time we had it set up in here, everyone knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it didn't mean that because I was the one who went on the training day, I was trying to train other people on how to use it. It just makes that whole thing a lot easier.
I think so. I mean, we talk about a BP champion, so a business pilot champion, somebody in your business that is really like the go-to person, and I think that really helps. But you can't beat getting everybody trained up and the approach you've taken. I mean, there's 2 approaches. Some people just take off little bits at a time because they want minimum disruption to the business, and this is change. We never hide from that. You are upgrading the way you do things, but that also means changing the ways that you do things. So, but where you can get everything moved across, it is more pain in one moment, but over time, I do think it helps you to get over that hump. I think that's the thing.
100%. Once you're in it, you're sort of forced to learn and move on. I think when you're half and half, you got a foot in either side, you can sort of still try and claw back to your old ways and go back to the comfort of not having to learn about more. And I think that's the thing of just get out of the comfort zone, and it just makes life easier down the road rather than 9 months of having to work out what's going on.
That's
just get it all done.
I think so. It's amazing how within a few months we talk about things that are in business pilot as though they're just normal.
Of course,
it doesn't take that long to fully adopt it, but it's just that point to begin with that can be a little bit, it's change, and not many of us are wired to like change. Most people try and stick away.
Wanting comfort.
Yeah,
everyone just wants comfort and what they know works, even if it doesn't work perfectly. They want what they know works, and that was the thing we found moving over. Was a few of the guys who've been here longer were a bit like, but this works. It might work for you, and it's easy for you, but it's about helping the company progress.
So I suppose now then, that was somebody who's already decided they're doing it. If we've got somebody sort of on the edge looking around, they've seen potentially various systems, so they might have seen various ways, whether they're industry specific or not. And they're now looking and considering a system. What would you say to them about Business Pilot?
I think it would be helpful for them to look into the videos that you guys upload online. I think that shows a lot of what is available out there. I always think for any person, it's worth them weighing up their options and seeing what works for them, obviously, as what works for one person may not work for the other.
Correct.
But I do think it's worth, you guys offer a trial as well, from what I believe, didn't you? So we ran that to test it out. It's always a great way of working out what works for you. I think it's just when you're looking between the systems, there's a lot out there that you can find. And I think if you can see something that's tried and tested and you know it's going to work, and there's good reviews and good feedback on it, then you might as well give it a go and see how it's going to help you. Yeah,
really good. I think although those videos, like the how-to videos, essentially the knowledge base, I know they're not designed to show off the system, but actually I think you're right. They let people like behind the curtain, so to speak. People can see what it is.
A lot of what we found was looking at the videos, we saw how easy everything was.
And that really is the purpose for these chats as well. I wanted
Yeah.
to, rather than just sort of pre-send out a load of questions and get a sort of written response that we could make more marketing-y. Actually, I just wanted people to get to see what it's like to be part of Business Pilot, to be part of the Business Pilot community, because that I think is really important, So I mean, in terms of me sort of quizzing you on your experiences with the system, with the people, I've probably done that. So is there anything else you would add where you think actually what we haven't spoken about is, is there anything else you'd add to what we're saying?
I'm trying to think now.
Yeah,
I'm never very good on the spot. Generally, I think everything's worked out pretty well for us. It's always been easy to use. Other than getting past that first sort of hump of working out what we were doing, I don't think there's been a moment since we got it that we've regretted it or anything like that, which was something we had with the first system we used when we were like, with HubSpot. That was one of the things we had, where after a few months we realised it wasn't working. And at that point, we realised we were tied into a year's contract, which we couldn't get our way out of. And then we had the same thing with the next company on that regret of we shouldn't have done this. It's never really been something we've had going through here. There is also, like you said, the community. We're always receiving constant updates on what's going on, new improvements coming. And there is constantly new features being added to make our lives easier, which is always a helpful bonus. It doesn't seem like it's ever not progressing.
No, 100%. There's always new stuff. If we now lost the phone number for our development department, then they've still got a couple of years of development. There's so much stuff in there. And
even from talking to you guys at Affix about some of the ideas going forward, and you see that there is constant things to improve coming.
It's and that's the bit that actually excites me. I think there's so much more to come. The system Business Pilot already is, it's phenomenal. I'm not trying to downplay it, but when I see where it's going as well, that's really exciting. So
100%.
So good.
Got to look forward to where it's going.
Callum, I really appreciate your time. I know that we're all busy, so I appreciate you taking the time. And
thanks for having me.
look forward to seeing you soon.